Did you know that holding on to anger can increase your risk of heart attack by nearly 5 times? It's a startling fact, isn't it? But it's not just your physical health that pays the price. Anger, like an invisible parasite, gnaws away at your mental well-being and the quality of your relationships, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Picture anger as a burning coal. Holding onto it is akin to clutching this coal in the palm of your hand. The longer you hold it, the deeper it burns, scarring not just your hand but your entire being. It's a self-inflicted wound, a self-imposed prison. The irony is that the person you're angry with often remains oblivious to your suffering while you bear the brunt of the damage. Research shows that chronic anger can lead to depression, anxiety, high blood pressure, and even stroke. It can disrupt your sleep, cloud your judgment, and affect your decision-making capabilities. It can turn you into a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at the slightest provocation. But it's not just you who suffers. The ripple effects of your anger can touch everyone around you. It can strain your relationships, create a hostile environment at home or work, and even push away the people you care about the most. In short, anger can rob you of the joy and peace you deserve. Moreover, anger can stifle your personal growth. It can keep you stuck in the past, replaying the same painful memories over and over again, preventing you from moving forward and living your life to the fullest. Clearly, anger is a burden too heavy to carry, so how can we lighten this load? The answer lies in the wisdom of Buddhism. Buddhism offers a path to liberation from the shackles of anger, a path that leads to forgiveness, peace, and ultimate happiness. But before we delve into that, it's important to understand what forgiveness truly means in the context of Buddhism. Stay tuned as we unravel the true essence of Buddhist forgiveness in the upcoming scenes. Many people believe that Buddhism teaches us to forgive and forget. But is that really the case? Buddhism as a practice is often misunderstood, especially when it comes to forgiveness. The general perception is that Buddhism encourages us to simply let go of any hurt or harm caused to us, to forgive and forget. But this isn't entirely true. The Buddhist approach to forgiveness is not about forgetting the harm done or dismissing the pain felt. It's not about condoning the wrong or denying the hurt caused. Instead, Buddhism encourages understanding and compassion. It asks us to take a step back and view the situation from a wider perspective. It encourages us to understand the reasons behind the actions of the person who has caused the harm. Were they acting out of ignorance, fear, or suffering? It's about acknowledging that just like us, they too are shaped by their circumstances, their experiences, and their past. This understanding, this compassion, is what allows us to let go of our anger and resentment. It's not about forgetting the harm done. It's about understanding that holding on to anger only causes us more suffering. It's about accepting what has happened, understanding why it happened, and then deciding how we want to respond. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not a passive act of forgetting. It's an active process of understanding, accepting, and choosing compassion over anger. It's about choosing peace over conflict, love over hate. It's about choosing to free ourselves from the chains of anger and resentment that keep us tied to the past, and stepping into a future filled with peace, compassion, and understanding. Buddhism teaches us that forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's a process that we need to work on every day, with each new challenge that comes our way. It's about cultivating a mindset of understanding and compassion, and using that mindset to navigate through the trials and tribulations of life. So, if Buddhism doesn't preach forgive and forget, what does it teach us about forgiveness? In Buddhism, forgiveness is not about condoning or forgetting. It's about understanding and letting go. Unpacking this statement, we find that forgiveness in Buddhism is a process that involves a deep understanding of the nature of suffering and the impermanence of all things. It's a proactive journey, not a passive acceptance. Let's delve deeper into this perspective. In the heart of Buddhism, we see that all actions, good or bad, arise from a place of ignorance or understanding. When someone hurts us, it's often because they are acting out of their own pain, confusion, or misunderstanding. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it gives us a context to understand why they might have acted the way they did. This understanding helps us to release the anger and resentment that we might hold. As we do so, we create space for compassion to grow. Compassion in this context is not just about feeling sympathy for the person who hurt us. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and the universal desire to be free from suffering. Forgiveness, then, is not about saying that what happened was okay. It's about acknowledging the hurt, understanding its roots, and making a conscious decision to let go of the anger and resentment that we hold. This doesn't mean that the pain will disappear overnight, but it does mean that we're choosing not to let it define us or hold us back. This perspective is beautifully captured by the Buddhist concept of mudita, or empathetic joy. When we forgive, we're not only releasing our own suffering, but we're also cultivating joy for ourselves and others. This is not a joy that depends on external circumstances, but a deep, inner joy that comes from understanding and compassion. But what about self-forgiveness? Buddhism teaches us that forgiveness must also extend to ourselves. We all make mistakes. We all act out of ignorance or misunderstanding at times. But when we hold on to guilt or self-blame, we're only adding to our own suffering. Just as we can understand and forgive others, we can also understand and forgive ourselves. So, in Buddhism, forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process of understanding, letting go, and cultivating compassion. It's a journey that involves both the heart and the mind, and it's a journey that can bring profound healing and freedom. But remember, forgiveness is not about being a doormat. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about understanding the nature of suffering, recognizing the impermanence of all things, and choosing to let go of anger and resentment. It's about cultivating compassion for yourself and others, and finding a deep, inner joy that is independent of external circumstances. Understanding the true meaning of forgiveness is the first step, but how do we put it into practice? Practicing forgiveness is not about a single grand gesture. It's a journey, a process, that begins with a single step. This step is the decision to let go of the pain and resentment, and instead invite peace and compassion into your heart. So, how do we practice forgiveness in our daily lives? Let's explore this journey together. Initially, it's critical to allow yourself to feel the pain. You can't forgive what you don't acknowledge. It's okay to admit that you're hurt. It's okay to grieve. This is not a sign of weakness, but a step towards healing. Next, we must cultivate understanding. Try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. This doesn't mean that you're justifying their actions or absolving them of their wrongdoings. Instead, you're creating a space for empathy, which is essential for forgiveness. Remember, we all are products of our circumstances. Sometimes people hurt others because they themselves are in pain. After understanding comes self-love. It's crucial to remember that forgiveness is not just about the other person, it's also about you. When you're holding on to anger and resentment, you're the one who suffers. You're the one who's trapped in the past. By choosing to forgive, you're choosing to love yourself. You're choosing to free yourself from the shackles of past pain and move forward. Then, we need to practice patience. Forgiveness is not an overnight process, it's a journey that takes time. Some days you'll feel like you've made progress, and some days you'll feel like you're back to square one. That's okay. Be patient with yourself. Allow yourself the time to heal. Finally, cultivate compassion. Compassion is the heart of forgiveness. When you feel compassion for the person who hurt you, you're acknowledging their humanity. You're acknowledging that just like you, they too are capable of making mistakes. So to practice forgiveness, allow yourself to feel the pain, cultivate understanding, practice self-love, be patient, and nurture compassion. But remember, forgiveness does not mean that you have to allow the person who hurt you back into your life. It does not mean that you have to forget what happened. It simply means that you're choosing to release the burden of resentment and anger, and instead, choosing peace and happiness. It's important to note that this journey is personal. Your path to forgiveness may look different from someone else's, and that's okay. What's important is that you're taking the journey, that you're making the choice to let go of the pain and embrace peace. Remember, forgiveness is not a destination, it's a path that leads to peace and happiness. So, take that first step today and embark on your journey towards forgiveness. And as you walk this path, know that with each step you're getting closer to peace, closer to happiness, and closer to freedom. Now that we understand what forgiveness truly means, how can we incorporate it into our daily lives? Practicing forgiveness is a journey that requires patience and perseverance. It's not a one-time event, but a process that evolves over time. Let's dive into some practical tips to help you on this path. Firstly, begin by cultivating mindfulness. This is about being present in the moment, fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. When we're mindful, we can observe our reactions to hurt and pain, rather than getting swept away by them. This awareness creates a space for us to respond rather than react, opening the door to forgiveness. Next, consider establishing a regular meditation practice. Meditation is a powerful tool that can help us to release the grip of resentment and anger. It allows us to quiet our minds and create a peaceful space within ourselves. Here, forgiveness can take root and grow. You might start with just 5 minutes a day, gradually increasing the time as you find comfort in the stillness. In addition to mindfulness and meditation, loving-kindness practices can be incredibly beneficial. These practices involve consciously sending goodwill, kindness, and warmth towards others, even those who have hurt us. It might seem challenging at first, but with time, it can soften our hearts and help us to let go of the pain. Lastly, remember to be patient with yourself. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's okay if you stumble along the way. What's important is that you pick yourself up and keep moving forward with compassion and understanding for yourself and others. Incorporating these practices into your daily life can create a fertile ground for forgiveness to flourish. They help us to let go of the burden of anger and resentment and embrace the freedom and peace that forgiveness brings. Remember, every step you take towards forgiveness is a step towards peace and happiness. As we embark on this journey of forgiveness, it's essential to understand its power. This power is not just an abstract concept, but a transformative force that can bring about profound changes in our lives. When we choose to forgive, we are choosing to let go of the heavy burden of anger and resentment that we have been carrying. This burden is not just emotional, but physical too. Studies have shown that holding on to anger can lead to stress, which in turn can result in a host of health issues, including heart disease and high blood pressure. On the other hand, forgiveness has been linked to improved mental health, lower levels of anxiety and depression, and even a stronger immune system. Simply put, when we forgive, we are choosing health and well-being over anger and bitterness. But the power of forgiveness extends beyond our personal health. It also impacts our relationships with others. Holding on to anger can create a barrier between us and the people around us, making it difficult to connect on a deep and meaningful level. Forgiveness, however, breaks down these barriers. It fosters empathy and understanding, allowing us to connect with others in a more authentic and profound way. In this sense, forgiveness is not just a personal journey, but a communal one as well. Furthermore, forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a continuous process, a way of life. When we choose to live with forgiveness, we are choosing to live with an open heart and an open mind. This openness can lead to a sense of fulfillment and contentment that is hard to describe. It's like a warm light that fills up our hearts, illuminating even the darkest corners. This is the power of forgiveness. And yet, it's important to remember that forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of those who have hurt us. It's not about forgetting the pain they have caused. It's about acknowledging this pain, understanding it, and then choosing to let it go. It's about choosing love over hate, peace over conflict, and understanding over anger. This is not an easy journey. It requires courage, patience, and a lot of self-love. But the rewards are immense. Imagine living a life free from the shackles of anger and resentment. Imagine waking up each morning with a heart full of love and a mind full of peace. This is the life that forgiveness can give you. So, why hold on to anger when you can embrace the power of forgiveness? Start your journey today and discover the peace and happiness that awaits you.